This video is not just about one breakfast in Brazil. It is a video about what happens when the internet decides a celebrity is overdue for a full takedown. The most interesting part of this chappell roan story is not whether or not, a security guard overreacted and kind of, shouldn't have gone off on a child. It's really about how fast people decided that the worst version of this story had to be the truth. It's done. Chappell Roan hates children. She's a witch. She wants to cook them in her cauldron and eat them for dinner.
I'm just gonna tell my half of the story. I do not hate people who are fans of my music. I do not hate children. Like, that is crazy.
Even if you don't care about Chappell Roan, like you aren't a massive Chappell Roan fan, what are her fans called? The Chappells? The Roans? Whatever. Regardless, the story is still super useful because it really shows how it's a great example of how online culture can really turn a blurry incident, a situation where we don't have all the details or, all the specifics yet, and turn that into basically a full character verdict on whoever the target of the week is. Before we get into whether or not Chappell was right or wrong in this situation, I do want to just give you a fast version of what happened, what brought us here, just so we were all on the same page, and then we will answer the real question. Why are people, mainly when it comes to Chappell, so quick to believe just the worst version of whatever story comes out about her? So yeah, let's talk about it. Okay, so basically what happened was, so let's just say there are 5 main characters, right? There's Chappell Roan, there's Chappell Roan's alleged security guard / personal guard, whatever. Then there is a football player who seems to be very successful. I cannot pronounce his name, but I'll put it on the screen for you. There's him, his wife, and his daughter. Now, this little girl, his daughter, is apparently a massive Chappell Roan fan, or was a massive Chappell Roan fan. She loved all the songs. Pink Pony Club was her jam, whatever it is. She loved Chappell Roan. Now, it just so happened that Chappell and this family are all staying at the Sao Paulo, Brazil hotel right before Lollapalooza, right? So everybody gets up for breakfast. They go and they get their, bacon and eggs and cheese and ham and whatever. They all sit down and the daughter goes, wait, is that Chappell? I think that's Chappell Roan. This is according to the dad, right? The daughter, I guess, goes to the table, isn't super obvious. She just smiles and she just her goal is not to infringe or upset Chappell or to bug her or whatever, but it was hey, I think that's my queen. Let me just go and make sure that that's the queen that I think it is, She goes to the table, she smiles, she might have waved, I don't know. That's a detail that I'm not really sure about. Whatever. Apparently she wasn't there for long. She leaves and she goes back to the table with her parents. So now for the scandalous part. So the dad / football player said, he accused that Chappell Roan's security guard comes over to their table and goes off. Was incredibly aggressive, was just calling them every name other than their government name. And basically made the little girl cry, which is insane. I'm not smiling because it's funny. I'm a smiler. I just smile. Basically just painting this picture that the girl wasn't even bothering Chappell. She just wanted to go over and just verify that that's who that was because she was super excited. And then her security guard came over and literally stomped that girl a new one. Now, for Chappell's side, Chappell said that she literally never saw any of this happen. She didn't see the mother, the father, the daughter, none of that. She didn't know they were there. She had no idea what was going on. And that not only did she not tell the security guard to go over and rip this girl a new one, she also said that security guard wasn't even hers. She has no idea who that man is. Come to find out, the little girl in this whole incident, she is the daughter of Jude Law, who was a famous actor. He was in Sherlock Holmes and the Marvels and stuff, if you don't know who it is. His ex-wife, which is the mom of this little girl, basically came out and she was just what I do know is that security guard was not working for the hotel. He typically works with artists. That's usually what his thing is. But she could not for sure say that this security guard was working for Chappell Roan and that she sent Lucius over to berate her child.
100% this security guard was not a security guard of the hotel, but he was with her. Did she send him to do it? I don't know. You have a responsibility when you are a celebrity to make sure, I guess, that the people that work for you and that act on your behalf are acting on your behalf.
And then finally, Chappell did release a statement basically saying that, again, she had no idea this was happening and she has zero tolerance for aggressive, mean, rude behavior towards her fans. She does not roll with that. She ain't down for that. So right away, this is not some clean cut, caught on camera type of scandal. This whole thing is based off of statements. The whole thing is very messy. The whole thing is very he said, she said, but that did not stop the internet from turning it into basically a full character judgment on Chappell Roan and just who she is as a person. And that is always where stories like this get super interesting to me. Even though it was a very blurry situation in terms of the details, people didn't treat it that way. They treated it like it was confirmation. Oh, I knew this all along. I knew that Chappell was a nasty little devil demon person, and this just confirms it. People did not react to this as if it was like brand new information when it comes to Chappell. People acted like it was just like an additional receipt in this long-running list of receipts they have had against Chappell Roan and how much they just despise her, and this was just like proof, like an extra bit of proof for why she is disgusting. This didn't go viral because it was a bad thing that happened. Like if any other celebrity had gone through this thing, it probably would have just been swept under the rug after a couple of days of like a news cycle. This went viral because it was Chappell Roan. But once you line this up with everything else that people have always said about Chappell Roan, how much they always disliked her for what, you know, this reason or the next, the reaction does start making a little more sense. Like if we go through a couple of her, you know, past controversies, like first there was the fan boundary discourse that she has had basically for the entirety of her career. She's gone viral multiple times for calling out just like odd, creepy, weird fan behavior, whether it's like stalking, harassment, and just the general idea that I think has been kind of a cloud over her whole career at this point, where it's like she has never really loved the idea that her being successful, her having a certain level of success and fame means that she is now obligated to give her fans more access to her than she feels comfortable with.
If you saw a random woman on the street, would you yell at her from the car window? Would you harass her in public? Would you go up to a random lady and say, "Can I get a photo with you?" Would you be offended if she says no to your time because she has her own time? I don't care that this crazy type of behavior comes along with the job, the career field I've chosen. It's weird how people think that you know a person just because you see them online or you listen to the art they make.
So a lot of people respected her stance on this, and still to this day, I think respected. I know I respected, you know, a certain amount. But on the other hand, each time that something like this comes out, whether it was that recent incident of her like recording paparazzi, basically, you know, invading her public space.
This person I've asked several times to go away and they will not. They're hiding their face because they're ashamed. Because I've asked them. These are all the people that are
Can you sign chappell?
completely disregarding all of my boundaries.
Every time one of these incidents happen where she speaks out about how she is just not a fan of this and we should not be accepting this, it does start to make her come off a little difficult, we can say, like just as like a person who's just a little difficult to be around at times because she's very outspoken. And that's just like, you know, it's not right or wrong, it just kind of is. There was a whole wave of discourse about her when it came to her views on the election, and while some saw nuance in her different takes about the election, others, people were mad because it's very irresponsible for you to have a large platform of people that you influence and to go to those people with your hot takes, but those hot takes are not always backed by proven facts. I remember she dropped out of All Things Go, I believe, which was like a music festival because she was feeling overwhelmed. And I believe, if I remember correctly, she said something like, you know, fame was really getting to her and it's really starting to mess with her mental health, which I think is totally understandable. But again, it adds another like tally to this running list that people have of like, oh, she's kind of difficult, or oh, she doesn't really like this, or she doesn't really enjoy this, and she kind of also hates the people that support her. And then you have her speech at the Grammys where she basically was, you know, doing what a lot of people ask for, which is they expect celebrities to use their platform to speak about things that are important. And Chappell Roan has always been a very outspoken person. She is very passionate about the things she believes in. She's very anti-establishment. All of that is valid and should be appreciated. But I can see how, again, it adds another tally to this. Just like every time that we hear from Chappell, it's usually something negative. It's usually something that causes some type of friction, some type of like frustration and discourse. And I think over time, it's kind of helped sour the idea of Chappell Roan as this like social justice warrior, like she's really fighting for, you know, the underdog. She's here for us. It oftentimes, even if it came off kind of annoying, it oftentimes felt like, you know what, she is fighting the good fight. Like the way that she does it is not always my favorite, but at least she's trying. That's the way that it always was viewed. And then over time, it just started to become a little more sour for a lot of people.
Every time I hear about Field Trip Chappell Roan, it's never about her music. Is the bitch even a singer? What the fuck does she do? She's always fucking dressed like she's about to go cast a goddamn spell.
And then this whole breakfast in Brazil thing happens, which typically when things like this happen, especially with an artist who already has kind of a running list of things that people have not been super favorable of, it's like, all right, So now we have this incident. So we're gonna take all of your past stuff, we're gonna bring it into this soup, and then we're gonna do like detective, like CIA work to find all of your like dirt, and we're gonna pull all that in here. And now we're gonna have a big old bowl of Chapel tomato soup for why we hate you. And I don't love that, but I understand it a bit. So now we should finally address kind of an obvious question here. Was Chappell Roan right or wrong in this situation? First of all, I don't think the public like evidence is strong enough to support like this idea that Chappell Roan basically is just this like monster who was just like, a child? Smite her! And like went to her security guard and was like, hey baby boy, Lucius, get over there and destroy her. I want you to crush all of her dreams. Like that's not what happened, but that's the way the internet is painting it, as if that's the way that it happened. But at the same time, to play devil's advocate, I do kind of understand why people were not quick to give her the benefit of the doubt, considering she has spent the past like year or two building a public image that is known for being sharp, reactionary, not wrong, but just easy to misread, easy to misunderstand. Like she may not have caused this, but I do think that she was just caught in the perfect storm and she is like the perfect person this could have happened to. Like people were just waiting for this to happen to her. I do think the reason this story stuck is bigger than, you know, whether or not Chappell Roan personally told one security guard to go and like lay the law down to some little girl. I do think underneath like the layers of all this is a much older argument that should be addressed. One of the reasons that this story like, you know, caught so much heat and like really became this big fire or whatever is that people already believe that Chappell Roan doesn't like fame, that she doesn't really appreciate or care for fan culture and the frustrations that come along with it. And to be totally honest, it's kind of always come across, or at least it seems like Chappell Roan kind of hates the people that support her.
She doesn't hate her fans. I don't know if I believe her. I don't. This behavior seems pretty par for the course with Chappell Roan's interactions with her fans. She hates you motherfuckers. Her publicist probably told her this is bad for the brand, so she throws security under the bus. That's my 2 cents.
Now, I do think that's a bit too simple of an answer. I don't think that by itself is the case. What seems to be way more accurate is I think Chappell really, at least from what I can tell, she seems to really resent the part of fame that basically collapsed her into just like public property. There is most definitely a difference between just hating your fans flat out and hating the expectation that your fans can access you whenever they want. And as the internet always does, it collapses these two things into one thing as if it's the same thing when it's not. So no, I don't think this incident proves that Chappell Roan hates her fans, but I do think that this incident shows how many people were already primed to believe that she hates them. Like it was like clockwork how quick this story became like a meme of like, oh yeah, Chappell hates children, Chappell hates her fans, Chappell just hates anyone who's not Chappell. I do think the public gets to expect basic decency from celebrities and the people that they admire, right? But I don't think the public gets to expect a certain level of access to someone just because they're a fan of them or even if they support them financially. You can totally expect your favorite artist to not be an asshole, to not humiliate their fans, and just to generally like act in a responsible, respectful manner, especially when it comes to like fan interactions. What you cannot assume is that just because you stream someone's music that you are now just automatically guaranteed friendliness, eye contact, photos whenever you see them in public, hugs, touching you in any way. But this is where Chappell kind of has a tricky mountain to climb when it comes to her career, because like if your whole brand is like anti-celebrity, while you are also one of the biggest pop stars in the world, I think it's understandable that people are going to push back on that contradiction. And honestly, the reason that this has turned into like such a big giant mess is because the internet just loves to like take that confusion and turn it into this like team sport. Like a community event. Like I don't think it gets talked about enough for my liking at least that a lot of the internet is like recruitment. Like the internet is basically like a big recruitment office. They'll see one post, one screenshot, one accusation, and then all of a sudden they're building a community around this hate train. And what's scary about the whole thing is that you don't really even need proof. Like it doesn't even need to be true or not. You just need the momentum. You don't need accuracy. You just need a person, a villain who people already find annoying. And celebrities are the perfect victims because There are millions of people talking about this. There's no way they can make millions of people actually face the consequences for saying something that may or may not be true. Like, just imagine you had an interaction with someone, say at work or just in your daily life when you're at Starbucks or whatever, and that one moment becomes a referendum on who you are as a person, on your character, because everyone online just wanted someone to dogpile on that week. I just think our main takeaway from this is that we should be careful about turning a fragment, a small part of a story, into like a full-on narrative. What I will tell you is that Chapel will be just fine. I plan a lot of parties and stuff for cruise ships, and I sing at weddings almost every weekend. And when I tell you, whenever Pink Pony Club comes on the damn speakers or whatever, the bride and her friends scream. They run to the dance floor ready to just go off to Pink Pony Club. When I play Hot to Go still at parties, it still goes up. People are still doing the dance. Like, it's Chappell Roan will be just fine. I know that there is other stuff about Chappell Roan that I didn't get into in this video on purpose because I felt like it was just like there was stuff about her like going to a Grammy school that was $3,000 a week, which shows that she's not really one of us, that she's always been rich. And
did you guys know that Little Miss I Don't Want to Be Famous went to Grammys camp in 2014? It's $3,000 a week, and it's literally what she keeps referring to as summer camp, where she met all of her industry friends.
I had management before I was signed through acting.
Oh, you were acting.
I was an actress before all of this. Actress, whatever.
There's so much there that I didn't get into, but I chose not to because I really wanted to focus on the overall idea of this video, which is that we're living in a time where it's so easy to see something or like see a quote from a celebrity or a video or whatever and go, oh my gosh, I'm taking that and I'm running with it. And I just wish that we could slow down as a collective and say, all right, is this really important to focus on this week? And is the thing that I'm focusing on even factuary? Facts? Are we even focusing on the facts? You know what? Yeah. Question for you though. Do you think this story was going to blow up anyway? Like, it didn't matter who it happened to, it was going to blow up? Or do you think it blew up because it was Chappell Roan and people already kind of had a running list of receipts ready to go when it comes to this girl? Let me know how you feel in the comments below. That is where all the real conversations happen, and I will be checking those comments. So let me know what you think. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I appreciate it, and I'll see you all in the next one.